Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. I am in my kitchen. Apologies, I'm a little bit late, but we've got all the latest Manchester United news, and we're going to get into it. Make sure, if you're not doing so already, you're hitting that like button and get involved in the chat and the comments. There's not loads of United news at the minute, right? So I thought we could have a little bit of a chat, a discussion about what's going on at United and what we think about certain aspects of the club, the formation, the midfield. These are the topics that keep coming up. Some of the stories that we're seeing this morning tie into it. We keep hearing the same sort of names being bandied about when it comes to potential incomings, the likes of Carlos Baleba, the likes of Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton's names being thrown into the mix. It does feel like the midfield is a big focus of Manchester United at the minute. So I thought we could talk a little bit about that and have a bit of a discussion. Good to see so many people in the chat already. Usual suspects, Santa Notch there, Wayne Davis, Real recognises Real, BMW Racing 1974, Mick Hullahan, Adam Kenny. Jay went out to get money for charity, ended up, what? Thank you. I did no such thing. I did never get that. But I am doing something for charity, which I will get into a little bit later on. So I appreciate everyone who's contributed. I'm doing a bit of a sleep out. I appreciate everyone who's contributed to that. We have smashed the target. Now, I thought we could talk a little bit about the midfield because, yet again, we're hearing the same stories. A few reports this morning. I've seen a few things online that Manchester United are still looking at Carlos Baleba, still looking at Elliot Anderson. It does feel a little bit like Groundhog Day, doesn't it? Every day here, where we're talking about the same players constantly. We're talking about Carlos Baleba. We're talking about Elliot Anderson. You may be able to hear my dog as well in the background making a little bit of noise, so forgive me for that one. But I've let her out. Professional, I know. So I thought we could get into a little bit about that because where does that leave Manchester United's midfield in the meantime? All the rumours and reports are that Manchester United are not going to buy a midfielder, or a lot of the rumours and reports, in January. Now, we've got this issue in a minute because we can't wait till summer and just ignore the fact that the midfield does have a few issues there. Casemiro's done very well this season. I mention this all the time, but every time he comes off the pitch, there is a little bit of a drop-off, and he does come off quite early a lot of the time. 70th minute, 65th minute. I think the game against Forest is the only game, I think, he's finished this season in the Premier League. So there is a bit of an issue there because when Manuel Ugarte comes in, does that solve the problems that you've got? No, it doesn't, because I think there's too much of a drop-off. And Ugarte, some of his performances this season haven't quite been up to scratch. So I know I've mentioned this on pretty much every news I've done this week, and I keep repeating it, but it is a topic that keeps coming up. There was an interesting point here, right, in The Athletic. Now, Laurie Whitwell, who's going to be on the channel later on this week, he did a big sort of article like he does about Ruben Amorim's first year. Me and Joe were speaking about Ruben Amorim's first year at the club, talking about it on a video that we posted yesterday. If you want to go and check that out after this video, obviously. Now, in Laurie's article, it says here, Amorim has said his system will evolve over time when he is ready, and he's laid out his team in a 4-3-3 for parts of some sessions, some training sessions, but this is mainly to embed understanding for certain phases of play during matches. He also says about Jason Wilcox, he's known to like 4-3-3. Now, one of the arguments that's made with the midfield a lot of the time is that if you had a three-man midfield, that might solve some of the problems you've got when it comes to Casemiro not having the legs that he's got, when it comes to Bruno perhaps being next to Casemiro and venturing forward and leaving him exposed. If you had a three-man midfield, that would fix some of that. It obviously cause other issues or raise other questions in terms of what you're doing. If you can have a three-man midfield, you can't have wing-backs anymore. Where does that leave us? So I was looking at it, I was thinking, okay, what are some of the answers here? Now, one answer is if you did have three in midfield, who would that be? You could potentially have Kobbie Mainoo, bring him back into the team, put Mason Mount as one of your three-men midfield. I've noticed Mason Mount a lot this season, does like to drop deep when he has played, and I think he's played very well this season. He's someone who can sort of become almost like an attacking midfielder, if you will, and you had Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro a little bit deeper. Could that work? Then push Bruno into one of the number 10 roles. But where does that leave? Obviously, the front three, if you're going to have 4-3-3, who's your front three? If you have Bruno as one of them, obviously you've got to have Brian and Bruno because he's mint. Then is it Cunha? Is it Sesko? What do you do there? There's a few questions there, but I thought it was worth a discussion because I actually think you could, if you wanted to, if this system was to evolve into 4-3-3. Now, whether that's going to be this season or it's further down the line, I don't know. Then it might work if you had Casemiro, Mainoo, and Mason Mount, and you had Bruno and Mbeumo and one of Cunha and Sesko, because Cunha can lead the line, and obviously so can Benjamin Sesko. Yes, that might mean that one of your wing backs has to change because it'd just be a fullback. Can Ahmad play at right back? He can play at wing back. Can he play at right back? He's a winger after all. Would he have to miss out? You know, I'm a massive Ahmad fan. What happens on the left? Would you put Luke Shaw there? Would he stay at centre back? Would you put someone like Patrick Dorgu there, could play at left back? Could you even play Diogo Dalot there? It could be an answer to some problems, but it might cause others. I don't mind the idea of United evolving into 4-3-3, as this article mentions. I think that would be a good look because I think that could actually work. I know Ruben Amorim has had a lot of success in Sporting with his 3-4-2-1, and he's kind of stuck with it. But now, whilst he's having some success, this might be the time to change it, because when things were going wrong, one of the things that everyone was saying whenever we chatted to people on the channel was like, well, he can't change now, because if he changes now, he's going to look stupid for sticking with it, and then it's failing and just sort of admitting defeat. However, if you start picking up results, but you can see within those results there are still some flaws, maybe now is the time to say, okay, we'll evolve a little bit and go 4-3-3. Let me know what you think. I'm just sort of almost thinking out loud here. I thought it was worth a discussion because obviously it is a little bit of an issue that needs fixing, this midfield conundrum. And yes, a signing can help that, but what do you do in the meantime? Do you just carry on? Do you just carry on and say, look, we've just got to hope Casemiro can do what he does in the 70 minutes, and we've got to hope that Ugarte can come in and do a little bit better? Or do you say, okay, let's change it. We're going to have to change it now because it's taken us so far, but with the personnel I've got in a minute, it ain't going to work. Also, I like the fact that if you did have 4-3-3, you've also got options there as well. Ahmad can play as a 10. You could bring in Joshua Zirkzee for some games. It still gives you that option of being able to mix it up, because another criticism we have at times is looking at the bench, it's not always as strong as it needs to be. Yes, we've had Sesko on the bench and players like that. It was obviously a very, very talented lad. But if you had a bench and you had it sort of an Ahmad on there and maybe a Cunha or a Sesko, all of a sudden your attacking options, not to mention Joshua Zirkzee, look a lot better. Let me know what you think. I'm just sort of thinking out loud. Do you think, no, we've got to stick with this 3-4-2-1? This is what he's doing. This is what he's got us so far. And he's got to stick with it, especially now the results are getting a little bit better. Sorry, he was making a racket. I've had to let him out of his cage because he wouldn't shut up. I myself am not convinced Sesko is too slow, says Raymond Undungi. It's reassuring to have a collection of players that could be used in a different number of formations, says Kevin Credible. Real recognises Real, says, I can't see us changing. I'm not sure I want us to now. So he says that the 3-4-2-1, he likes that. Santanot says, we defo need strengthening the depth in the squad. I agree with that. The 11, I think, is quite strong. I think Manchester United's starting 11, especially now we've got a new goalkeeper who's absolutely smashing it, is very strong. However, once you lose one or two players, especially when you lose Casemiro, that's the obvious one. I didn't think we'd be saying that a few months ago. When you lose Casemiro, all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're going, it looks a little bit ropey, doesn't it? Also, as well, at wing backs, you could probably do with another option too. I'm looking forward, just on the centre back issue, getting Lisandro Martinez back into the team. We've missed him. I know Luke Shaw's done a decent job, but I think Lisandro Martinez, he's such a good player and such a good player for the system that Ruben Amorim likes. We saw it towards the end of last season, or just before he got injured last season. He was getting forward, he was creating chances, and he was even scoring goals, wasn't it? You've missed him. We have missed him. Yundus says, is there a chance, or is this a chance to blood some younger players? Maybe. Raymond Odungi says Cunha should play with others. Sometimes he is selfish. TG Gaming, sorry, I'm trying to keep up, says we still have the same midfielders that were there under Ten Hag, except for Ugarte. Ugarte was there under Ten Hag. Let's not forget, Manuel Ugarte came in under Eric Ten Hag. Now, I don't know how much Eric Ten Hag wanted him because he didn't play him, but Manuel Ugarte was definitely an Eric Ten Hag signing, or sort of happened on his watch. There was rumours and reports that he wasn't too keen on him, and also he didn't really play him. Even when things were going wrong towards the end of Eric Ten Hag's tenure, Manuel Ugarte struggled to get off the bench. So I don't know if he was a sort of Ten Hag signing. He just happened on Ten Hag's watch. Brian Casey, good to see him in the chat, says, I think the system will naturally evolve when Ruben has his own players and doesn't have to play Dalot. Some Dalot slander there. Real recognises Real, says, I can't wait for Leacher to be back in the side. I agree with that. Kone, when he gets fit, could be a good shout, says Chris Griffith. A lot of people talking about Seka Kone and saying how he could be a good option for Manchester United. I get that. Still very young, innit? Seka Kone, still very untested. Definitely one for the future. I think it might be a year or two in the future, though. Let me know what you think. If you've seen more of him than I am, because I haven't seen a lot. I know Finn of Academy Review raves about him, but I don't know how sort of ready he is to come into this system, come into this midfield. I just think it's worth having that discussion. And I'm going to get into it with Laurie as well when he's on the channel later on this week, because from that long piece that he wrote, which is a very good piece, go and check it out in The Athletic, lots to unpick in it. But just the formation thing and the fact that Jason Wilcox likes 4-3-3 and the sort of hint that it could evolve made me think, especially when you look at the personnel we've got right now and the issues we've got right now in midfield, could that be something that happens sooner rather than later? How old is Kone now? Says real recognizes real. Sports Quation says Kone is 19. Yonder says Shea Lacey, Kone, Mainu should all be making appearances. They might even, some of them, get more chances during the AFCON. There's talk in there of Shea Lacey maybe getting a nod. Brian and Bumo, Ahmad, and obviously Mazraoui are going to go away to AFCON. Is that the time that the manager might tweak the formation slightly? He's going to lose one of his wing backs. He's going to lose his most productive number 10. And he's going to lose a player that can play in several positions, which is kind of vital in this system as well. We've seen Mazraoui at wing back. We've seen him at centre back. We also saw him under the previous manager as a number 10, but that didn't really work. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see just what happens with Ruben Amorim. I think post international break as well, we've got a run of games that are winnable, and this could be a real time for Manchester United to kick on. Would that be the time? Would that be the right time to start changing with the formation, or do you stick to your guns? Let me know what you think. Another story that I wanted to get into this morning is one about Axel Tuanzebe. Now, it's mad this, because we were talking about Tuanzebe the other day on the channel, and there's a lot of stories doing the rounds this morning. Saw it in Sky News, saw it everywhere, and it says here, Sky News has obtained legal documents lodged at London's High Court, which allege that the Burnley defender can no longer play without restriction or impediment over United's handle of a spinal injury. Manchester United have been accused of harming the career of a former player, which is Axel Tuanzebe, by failing to treat an injury promptly and appropriately, leaving him with more serious long-term problems, according to a £1 million lawsuit obtained by Sky News. While defender Axel Tuanzebe is still in the Premier League at Burnley, he blames United for no longer being able to play without restriction or impediment, impacting his career and earnings. The landmark case has been brought by the footballer, claiming clinical negligence, shining an unprecedented spotlight on the inner workings of leading clubs' medical care and handling of an injury. The lawsuit lodged at the High Court in London shows the 27-year-old Congolese player expects to recover damages in excess of £1 million. United have declined to comment. It'd be interesting to see what happens with that. It's a shame what happened um, with Axel Tuanzebe, because he was such a good player. He really was. And we all saw what he did in obviously that night in Paris, and we all sort of, well, we all loved Axel Tuanzebe, didn't we? Uh, but yeah, it was just one of those where he just it never quite happened for him. And yeah, it's just, it's really sad that it's sort of, it's come to this. It really is. It's really sad that it's come to this, and that we're in this position now where he's suing the club. I mean, let me know what you think. Um, do you do you think he's got justification for this? I mean, do we know? Do we really know what's gone on in the inner workings of Manchester United's medical team? It's easy to sort of say, "Oh, United's medical team has been rubbish," and all the rest of it, but we don't really know, do we? We don't. I mean, obviously, Axel Tuanzebe and his team will have an opinion on it. The club have probably got an opinion on it. We'll have to wait and see. I just think the whole sort of story, for want of a better, Tuanzebe at Manchester United is a sad one. There was a time when he looked like a real player. He went on loan to Aston Villa, did very well there, came back. We had some moments, didn't we, where he looked like just unbelievable, but it never quite happened for him. He never quite kicked on. Now, was that because of mishandling with his injury? I don't know, is the honest answer. It might be something else. It might just not been at the levels we thought he was. I know he did have quite a few injuries, and he got injuries. There's never a good time to get injuries, but he got injuries at a time when you expected him to kick on. I remember him coming back from Villa on that loan spell, and people looking at it going, this could be one for us for the future. This could be someone who actually not for the future. This could be a guy who's ready now to come into the Manchester United first team. And there was a game, I think it might have been Arsenal at home, where he got injured in the warm-up, I want to say. I might be getting that wrong. It might not be Arsenal, actually. It might be Liverpool, one of the two. And that felt like a moment that was a missed opportunity. Then he comes into the team and at times does really well in the Champions League. Then he had that stinker, was it against Istanbul, where he was poor. I mean, look, we'll have to wait and see. It is just sad to see, innit? It's sad when players don't perhaps feel their potential. Sad when it's an injury that's perhaps something to do with it, and he's sadder if the club could have done something better and maybe looked after him a little bit better. We just don't know there. James Jones Benjamin says, if there is negligence, win because we will improve our facilities for it. I mean, that's one way of putting a positive spin on something that looks like a bit of a negative. I just wanted to mention as well, again, I have mentioned this before, about the sleep out I'm doing on Friday. Thank you. I'm going to put a little comment in there in the chat. Thank you to everyone who who's donated. I really appreciate that. But a lot of donations, loads of people who've sort of dug deep, and we smashed the target. Originally, the target was 500 quid, put it up to £1,000, smashed through that. To sleep out to help a homeless charity, the Booth Centre in Manchester. So if you can, I appreciate that. There's a link, like I said in the chat. If you can, don't worry about it. I appreciate times are hard, especially with Christmas coming up as well. And just to show you that I'm not all about charity, and I'm a bit of a capitalist pig. We have got merch for sale as well. You can check out. There's a link in the description to buy some merch. Joe's going to be back later on today. He's doing the live. I'm off. I'm off to see the Manchester United women's team play Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. I hope they do better than the last time I watched United play Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League at Old Trafford. It's when we lost 2-0 at home. And Paul Pogba got sent off. Although I can't remember what happened on the return leg. Maybe someone can remind me of that one. That was it's a bit of a funny one. So you've got Joe later on this evening. You've also got McCullough on the overlap. We've got a video there coming out this afternoon. Him and Jamie Carragher and Paul. I was going to say Paul Scholes and Wayne Rooney having a bit of a chat about Manchester United's future and this season and what's going on and whether this is the sort of start of something new or whether we've still got to be a little bit cautious on some of the green shoots we're seeing. I'm going to leave it there. The weather in sunny Salford is not so sunny. It's actually bucking it down. Typical Mancunian weather. I've been Jay Moy. This has been the Paper Talk. Big thank you again to everyone who's donated. Donated. That's not a word. Donated. Thanks for watching.